Hello, everybody. Hello, how are we doing? Are we ready and raring to go for today's Grand Prix? Oh, just double check everything's plugged in, on, everything's working. Hello, Pale Max. Hello, Thomas. Hello, David. Early in the chat. We've got, what, half an hour or so until lights out here in Brazil, and quite a few things to talk about. Obviously, nowhere near as much to talk about today as we had yesterday. If you haven't seen, I made another video today, just sort of, you know, fully condensing everything that went on in qualifying over the course of yesterday before sprint qualifying as well. Just summarizing all of that together because people were losing their minds. People were absolutely losing their minds when it came to the incidents of this weekend. And is this a race watch along? It is indeed, David. There'll be a few of us in here. We're very early at the moment, but by the time there's usually a good chunk of us who have a little chat about the races that's going along, react to things, and talk about just whatever comes to mind, Formula One related, I guess. Hey, also, I feel like the framing of my camera is a little bit weird today. You can see the door. Can't usually see the door, can we? Can we? Not sure. Oh, it's there. I've got a door, believe it or not. But we are going to have a little chat about anything and everything Formula One. Let's have a little look at the Drivers' Championship because not too much to talk about, obviously, compared to yesterday. Max Verstappen does pick up a couple of points, though. Valtteri Bottas picking up all 3 points for the win yesterday in the sprint, and Carlos Sainz picking up a point in 7th place as well, just narrowing that gap between him and Leclerc once again. And Carlos Sainz in position today to make up ground on Leclerc. It's going to be so close between those guys in the Drivers' Championship this year, really, isn't it? It's just going to be, I don't even know, three races, well, 4 races left to go, 3 races after this weekend. Looks like Carlos Sainz has got, the edge this weekend over his teammate, but could completely change next weekend. Wouldn't surprise me if Charles Leclerc came out on top, even this weekend or over the next few. It's going to be so close between Ferrari and Tomo made an excellent video, one that I wish I'd have got to first, to be fair, but made an excellent video on why he thinks Ferrari will be title challengers next season. And a lot of that is down to the quality of driver that they've got at this moment in time. Charles Leclerc really coming into his own, been at Ferrari for a little while now, is basically, the Ferrari man. And then Carlos Sainz has come in and kind of upset the apple cart a little bit. I imagine they maybe expected that, as we're watching Sebastian Vettel just checking the temperature of the track, the investigator himself. But Carlos Sainz sort of come in and upset the apple cart a little bit. I'm assuming that Ferrari probably wanted to bring Carlos Sainz in as a bit of a number 2. They obviously wouldn't have said that to him or told him that when they did the deal, but they might have sort of had that in mind, the fact that, Charles Leclerc will probably be the one that comes out on top, and, Carlos Sainz will be the number 2. But it's been very close between them all season, and Carlos Sainz has taken to that Ferrari like a duck to water. Hello, Claire. Come on, Norris. Yes, that is what we want to see. Norris, of course, starting in 5th place today. Still got a 12-point lead over Charles Leclerc, dropping down, though, 15 points behind Sergio Perez now. So it's going to be an uphill battle for Lando Norris if he's going to catch up to Sergio Perez. I think that fight is kind of done. The Mercedes and the Red Bulls have been the faster car. He was doing phenomenally well to be in front of some of those guys by the halfway point of the season. To keep that up was almost impossible, and he's still within touching distance, so I'm pretty impressed with Lando Norris still being there. But down in 5th place and starts 5th today. The other one is Daniel Ricciardo. People talking about whether or not he might be able to catch the Ferraris. I was, talking him up a little bit as a McLaren fan over the last few weeks, and he's done exceptionally well. But yesterday really wasn't his day. He's starting behind Lewis Hamilton, and it could be tough for Daniel Ricciardo to get points today. I'm not going to lie, they didn't have too much pace yesterday, and after a pretty poor start from Daniel Ricciardo, it didn't really get any better. And I don't think he's going to be able to catch either of those Ferraris, but he can get some points in the hopes of helping them out in the Constructors' Championship. Pierre Gasly, again, one of those losers from yesterday in the sprint, you would say. Hasn't overly gone well for him yesterday. Dropped down from, where did he start? He started in 4th in the end, didn't he? Qualified 5th. Gained a place because Lewis Hamilton dropped to the back of the grid, started in 4th, and now is starting behind Charles Leclerc this afternoon. So, the race is completely different. The temperature on the track is much, much hotter. Maybe Pierre Gasly can find a little bit more pace in the AlphaTauri compared to the sprint race yesterday. And then we're getting into that middle of the pack. Alonso, Ocon, Vettel, Stroll. Those guys will all be starting in and around one another. But obviously with Lewis Hamilton, middle of the pack as well. Russell and Latifi, bit of a nothing day to talk about for them yesterday. Raikkonen is going to be starting with those at the back of the grid. He'll be in 18th place, will Kimi Raikkonen. He only managed to get back in front of the Hasses yesterday after his spin. A little bit of contact with him and Giovinazzi. Not going well for Giovinazzi, is it? You're obviously battling for your seat in Formula One, but the worst thing you could probably do is get on the team's nerves by dropping out one of the drivers that looked like he was going to go on and possibly be fighting for points today. Kimi Raikkonen was having a pretty good afternoon, all being said. They were both sort of in and around that general area they find themselves in, where if something goes wrong for another team, they might pop up with a point. Kimi Raikkonen is usually the man that does that. And Giovinazzi obviously coming into contact with him, costing him yesterday. And then Mick Schumacher and Mazepin, the two guys yet to have scored points this season in the Constructors' Championship. Again, Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari pick up some points. Valtteri Bottas, those 3 points go towards Mercedes. 2 points for Max Verstappen go towards Red Bull. And 1 point for Ferrari. From Carlos Sainz and the sprint yesterday. And actually on the sprint yesterday, just whilst we're, in a point between points, the ceremony after the race, the podium ceremony was tragic. Like, is it just me, or was it just absolutely tragic? It really, really just didn't do anything for me. They basically walked up to the podium, they got the ring on them, a little bit of a wreath, took a photo. It was almost like, when you've got like school picture day and they're like, oh, right, go and stand over there, go and stand. And if you can turn this way, look this way, bang. That was kind of the feeling that I got from the podium yesterday. It was like, Carlos Sainz, here's your 3rd place. All right, go and stand in front of the crypto because we need to take a picture of that with that in the background. That is pretty, important for us. Otherwise, they won't pay their fee. So just stand there, look really nice. Lovely, lovely stuff. And then literally as soon as he got off the podium, he just chucks the wreath down to the Ferrari guys below him. So he just was not bothered by it at all. Then it was the same for Max. Max, if you put the wreath on, stand there, look good, good. And then he just walked off. Like, it really wasn't a podium ceremony, was it? I know that the sprint races are not a real race. And I think even the Formula One drivers are a bit like, right, yeah, sprint races, blah, blah. But at the same time, you'd imagine that they'd be a little bit happy to win a sprint race, but they're really just not bothered whatsoever. And I just found that really, really funny. And do you think that is something we're going to see continually? Do you think even if, the sprint races get continued next season and they get added in a little bit more fruition next season as well, do you think, the drivers and the teams are still going to be like, it's just a sprint race, isn't it? Like, it definitely needs changing. The way that they're formatted definitely needs changing. I think that's fair to say after we've seen all 3 sprint races from this season. But it was just tragic. Just absolutely tragic, that podium. Anyway, the Constructors' Championship is what I was going to talk about. Mercedes now have a 2-point lead. Absolutely nothing in it, is there? And with Hamilton starting from 10th, you'll imagine he's going to be up into the points as well. So it could get very, very close between these guys in terms of the Constructors' Championship this weekend. Red Bull in 2nd, just a couple of points behind. Ferrari in 3rd, and eked out a little bit more of a lead, obviously with that point from Sainz yesterday. But Ferrari popping themselves up into 3rd, McLaren dropping down into 4th. Alpine and AlphaTauri is the interesting one, both on 106 points. And they're in that sort of position where the money for those guys in the middle of the pack does mean quite a lot. The difference between 5th and 6th and the monetary payout that they'll get from Formula One for coming either 5th or 6th is pretty big for those teams. Like Max Verstappen was obviously joking yesterday about the 50,000 fine that he's got and how it's just a sort of drop in the ocean for those guys. And, Red Bull are effectively a vat of money that is just infinite at this point. Like, if you think the amount of different sports and just various things that Red Bull are doing and continue to do and continue to sponsor, like, they've just got an infinite pool of money at this point, it seems. But the likes of Alpine, AlphaTauri, I know that AlphaTauri are kind of with Red Bull as well, but the AlphaTauri team slightly different in the way that they're run. And, it will make a little bit of a difference to those guys in the middle of the pack. Maybe AlphaTauri can, take over the Red Bull team next year and be, the more dominant of the two Red Bull lineups. You never ever know. Aston Martin down in 7th place, kind of season over for them. Obviously, they'll continue to turn up and continue to race, but there's not really much more that Aston Martin can do, in my opinion. There's no way they're catching AlphaTauri or Alpine. They're just quicker than the Aston Martin. And the Aston Martin, again, I don't think there's any way that the Williams car is going to catch them either in terms of points. Alfa Romeo in 9th place. Alfa Romeo kind of within a shout of catching Williams. They need like one huge result, right? But that is just the way that it is. And then Haas, obviously, dead and buried. Hello, guys. Hello, Mallory. Hello to Shah. Kimi has a pit lane start. Ooh, I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know. Who have I got for the win? I'd quite like to see Valtteri Bottas win. Just because, like, again, it's his last season. It's not his last season in Formula 1, but it's his last season at a real top team, in my opinion. I don't think Alfa Romeo are going to be able to give him a car in the next couple of seasons where he's going to be able to win races. So I think this might be, one of the last opportunities we see for a Valtteri Bottas victory. But then Verstappen just behind him. It's going to be very, very close down into turn 1, isn't it? Then we've got Carlos Sainz in 3rd. I'd love to see Carlos Sainz win this race. I'd absolutely lose it if Carlos Sainz won this race. I would just explode, I think, because I would absolutely I don't know. I don't have the words for what I would do if Carlos Sainz won this race. But yesterday, his pace was not looking great on those softer compound tyres. Obviously, they were going off towards the end of the session. So it might have just been the fact that, he could have done with a pit stop effectively, but there wasn't enough time in the sprint race. We'll see how they go today. Maybe they'll go better on the medium compound and be able to, continue to make up places. But Charles Leclerc didn't look super quick either when he was defending from Lewis Hamilton. As we see Valtteri Bottas and George Russell exchange a little nod to one another. Obviously, George Russell taking Valtteri Bottas's place next year. But yeah, I think all of those top three, Sergio Perez has got a chance at winning this race, even down to sort of Lando Norris. You'd imagine has got a little bit of a hint at winning this race, depending on what happens to the guys in front of him. And then, obviously, can we talk about Hamilton? Like, Hamilton is starting all the way back in 10th, but he could just do it. He could just do it, couldn't he? If I pop it up, actually. Lewis Hamilton starting down in 10th. He's got Vettel and Ocon in front of him just to begin with. He managed to get past those guys with ease yesterday. It was only really Fernando Alonso that put up any sort of real difficulty for Lewis Hamilton. Yuki Tsunoda, you could also argue, tiny little bit of a difficulty for Lewis Hamilton, but pretty much everyone else just got absolutely scythed through by Lewis Hamilton and that Mercedes. So I'm not so sure where Lewis Hamilton might be able to come. He looks so quick, but again, it was a sprint race. So, were people just being a little bit cautious? They knew that Hamilton was just absolutely throwing, caution to the wind, and Hamilton didn't really have anything to lose. They also knew that Hamilton was going to have a 5-place penalty. So, the likes of Vettel and Ocon and Gasly that kind of just sort of let Hamilton past. They knew that he was going to be back behind them anyway. So they didn't really need to put up too much of a fight, because it was going to end up with him behind them after all. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Where do you think Hamilton can get to? I think it's going to be a lot trickier for him than yesterday. But there's a part of me that is he'll still get a podium though, won't he? There's a part of me that's just Lewis Hamilton in this Mercedes. We've seen it time and time again over the last few years. He's been so dominant in the last sort of era of Formula 1 since, obviously, Sebastian Vettel and the Red Bull era beforehand. I just couldn't I could believe, like, if somebody came from the future now and told me, oh, I've seen this race, Lewis Hamilton wins, I'd be like, maybe he does. Like, I could believe it. It's very, very tough for him, and it's going to be a massive challenge, and he's going to have to do some exceptional driving. But I could see it happening. Like, it's not impossible. It's not like it's never ever got an opportunity to happen. I could definitely see it going his way. And, depending on his start, we saw him get in front of 4 cars before the first corner yesterday. So maybe he's all the way up to, like, Leclerc by the time we get to the first corner today, and then it's a completely different race. Because suddenly he's well in contention. He's got Valtteri Bottas maybe doing a little bit of a helping hand for him as well, in first place. Oh, as my stream has just died a death. But yeah, he's got Valtteri Bottas doing a job for him. I could see it happening. I could see him winning. But there's a part of me that just, like, can't believe that he'll be that good. There's a part of me that does believe. So I just don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts in the chat. Where could Hamilton come this afternoon? Hello, Cole, mate. Good morning. Oh, it is very much the middle of the afternoon here. Could Hamilton have taken a new engine because he knew he was starting from the back anyway? Well, he's taken a new ICE. That's why he's dropped those 5 places. I think taking a new engine might have been a bit too much. Like, he did so well to get up to 5th yesterday, and did so well to be starting on 10th today. To then just chuck it all back to 20th again, I think would be a bit annoying for him. You know what I mean? Like, with that showing, especially, and all those moves and all those overtakes and using every single little inch of the track to try and get an advantage, and then he's actually just like, oh no, actually we'll just take a new engine and we'll just drop back to the back again. I think he'd be maybe a little bit sort of annoyed by that. I think that's probably well within his rights to be a little bit annoyed. If the Mercedes team just decided to take a new engine, because then he might as well have not taken part in the sprint, right? As much as that, like, he would have, but he could have not if they knew that he was just going to take a full engine change. As we're watching, what are we watching? Some planes. They do love a plane at Formula One. Do love a plane. Planes and smoke. It's an absolute must-have at a Formula One venue, isn't it? I wonder how much that actually costs the venues to have some planes go over with a little bit of smoke. As we're talking to Lando Norris as well, the birthday boy from yesterday. It's depressing that he's 22, isn't it? Like, just how much that man has achieved in comparison to myself at 22. But there we are. That is, we can't compare ourselves to others. We have to continue on in our own life's journey, and it doesn't matter what other people do, because that is the way it is. So from my calculations from the past 2 sprint weekends, there's a possibility 99.94% of Max and Lewis colliding in the race. I love that. That is a very good comment. Yeah, it is tradition, to be fair. It is tradition. But they're so far away from each other in terms of track today. Maybe if Verstappen pits early and comes out in the mix next to Lewis Hamilton. It is tradition, though. They do have to continue the tradition, otherwise it just wouldn't be a tradition. You don't cancel Christmas, do you? And Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen need to make sure that they have a little bit of contact between them this afternoon. Maybe down into turn 1 after a pit stop. Or turn 4, wouldn't it be, after a pit stop? What are they doing? Oh, they're just having a little chat to Lando Norris. It's nice of them. It's nice of them. I think another thing that we haven't really touched on yet is how hot it is going to be around this track today compared to the sprint. Like, we could see completely different tyre performance than we saw yesterday. We saw, the medium compound tyre obviously coming to its own towards the end of the race, and the soft compound tyre working best at the start, as you'd expect. But we could see completely different degradations on these tyres today. It is much, much hotter, and obviously it's earlier on in the day for these guys as well. So we could see, I don't know, I want to say that obviously the pit stops will be the standard that we usually see around here in Brazil, but maybe not. Like, Jessica, Red Bull are... Oh, okay. Now to change parts, but nobody else can. Uh, I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from. But I mean, it's all in the regulations, right? As long as it's within what is allowed, then yeah, it's allowed. Then the regulations are there for good reason, right? I think is what we have to try and remember at this point. And lots of people obviously talking about again the incident with Hamilton yesterday. Day before, where his wing was slightly bent. The fact that he didn't actually gain any kind of advantage because it was bent in a way that made it slower. So hards could be a choice. I think so. It's so difficult to tell with these tires this season. We've seen lots and lots of different strategies, and lots of strategies work, to be fair. It's been quite good. I think the tyres have been quite good this season in terms of how the Pirelli have sort of put together the different compounds and how they've worked on various different tracks. Obviously, we saw the incident in Baku. Let's not talk about the incident in Baku. Is your stream delayed for the race? Yeah, it'll be delayed by like a minute or two, just slightly. Hello, Minerv. How are you doing? In the words of Toto Wolff, yeah. Well, yeah, but we got to remember, Toto Wolff and Christian Horner are always going to disagree on everything, to be honest with you. You could hold up a bit of paper and be like, what colour is this, Toto? What colour is this, Christian? Toto would probably say white. Christian would be like, no, it's a deep cream or something. And I would be like... like, they will just argue about basically anything that they possibly can. I try to be fair, but something is up. I feel like there's a lot of conspiracy sort of circulating Formula One at the minute. That's why I made the video this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it if you have seen it. But I haven't actually replied to any of the comments on there because I was getting ready for today, so I don't know how it's doing. But yeah, that's why I made that video, because there's so many conspiracies already circulating. And I'm sure at the end of the season, whoever comes out on top, you know, if it's Hamilton wins his 8th title, if it's Verstappen wins his 1st, then there's going to be people that, you know, go either way with this, isn't there? There's going to be people that are like, no, this happened, and therefore Max actually should have deserved to win it, or no, Hamilton deserved to win it because Max cheated here and here, and I'll remember when Hamilton hit Verstappen here and here, and it was like just you know, let's pretend that it's fine, and at least, and you know, it's just sport. These things happen, and both teams are kind of over it now. Obviously, Toto Wolff came out yesterday, was a little bit frustrated. I think more with the fact that the FIA took so long to sort out the actual car. Like, they took so long dilly-dallying over the wing. But in the end, it didn't matter. It was the sort of thing that we expected to happen anyway. And I haven't changed Kimi Räikkönen down to the back of the grid. Apologies, just realised. Räikkönen, Mazepin, and Mick. A little bit of a swap. There we go. Hello, Nathaniel. How you doing, mate? I think he'll get on the podium. I don't see him beating Max or Bottas though. Thomas. Yeah, I could see that. I think it's the thing, though. Lots of people talk about Bottas backing Verstappen into Hamilton. So, if Lewis wins this, the greatest comeback in the world title history, maybe it would be very, very impressive. Like, let's not beat around the bush. The Red Bull has been the better car. That is just the way it is. Has been the better car. But Hamilton's done very, very well. So it's, swung in both directions, hasn't it? And at times, Mercedes have been uncatchable. At times, Red Bull have been the team to beat, and it's been that kind of way. Hello, LeFerry. Go, Lewis. Lots of Mercedes fans, actually. What was I doing? I was going to have a little look at the video from earlier on. Because, yeah, I talk a little bit about the 3 sort of main theories behind what happened to Hamilton's wing. Sort of from a hardcore Red Bull fan's perspective, from a hardcore Mercedes fan's perspective, and then from sort of a middling neutral, the sort of other guys, the McLaren fans, the other guys sort of on the grid that just don't really mind too much, to be honest with you, and don't have the energy to be that passionate about it. And I sort of went through all 3 of those, and it went quite nicely, actually. It was a bit of a rush video, but I think it was put together in a way that I enjoyed. and had a little bit of fun at the end too, as we're now looking at Sky. Oh, actually, that does remind me, while Sky are doing a little bit of promo, I'll do a little bit of promo. Why not? If you want to win £100 worth of Formula One merch, go for it. You know, it's up there, it's available. On the community tab, if you go click the little button that is my face, it takes you through to the channel. If you go over to the community tab, there is a possibility of entering a giveaway for £100 worth of Formula One merch. You've still got a week to enter, but you know, get it done while you can. Get it done early. All you've got to do is either be subscribed to the channel, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, or follow me on Twitch. And if you want to, you know, give yourself one raffle ticket, then you just do one of those things. If you want to give yourself 2 raffle tickets, double your chances of winning, then you can do 2 of those things. Or you can do all 4 or 5 things that are linked in there, and quintuple your chances of winning £100 of Formula One of your choice from the official Formula One store. Just wanted to give back to you, and as it says at the bottom, there is a little birthday giveaway. We will be celebrating Qatar and my birthday simultaneously next Sunday, and also giving out this to whoever is picked from, I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna have to like generate like a wheel of names or something so that everybody knows and sees what is happening in terms of the giveaway. But that is where we're at with that. A week, as I said, to go. Max tampered with it. The wind blew it and broke the rear wing. Marco paid Merc Engineer to make it bigger. That's good. I enjoyed it. What happened to Kimi to drop to the back of the grid? I think he's taken some new parts. Can anyone confirm? I can't remember which part he's taken now. Is it gearbox or power unit? I can't remember. He's taken some new parts on the car, because obviously he was starting from 18th anyway after that little touch with Giovinazzi. So it's just decided to replace a few things and take the grid drop whilst he wasn't really going to lose out too much by taking it. But yeah, I can't remember the exact thing. Here we go then. We're getting set up and ready to go. Just double checking that everything is working for me, because that's always a good start to these sessions. Oh. Will it be done live? What do you mean? What? Should they not take a break, then finish the last races because they're all in the Middle East? There is a week between. Oh, yeah, I suppose what you mean. Like, shouldn't the week's break be now rather than after Qatar? Probably should be now instead of after Qatar, but that is just sort of the way it is. It's sort of fallen. And you never know with Formula One and their calendar, let's be honest. It could go any which way because that's just how that works. Actually, somebody who pops onto the channel quite often, what's his name? George Morgan is doing a stream today as well. So head over, give that a little like if you fancy. But obviously come straight back. Like, go over there, give it a like if you fancy, that's fine. But also come straight back afterwards because you are my viewers and not his. Actually, I might give him a little hello. Why not? Where's the live chat? We'll give him a little hello, and who do we think is going to win? Let's go Lewis Hamilton. Why not? Here we go then. Corinthians. Oh yeah, we're in Brazil. How are Corinthians doing? I don't really watch any Brazilian football, but I do know a few. Who is it? I had a roommate that was Brazilian that supported Grêmio. So I watched a few Grêmio games back in the day, but I can't say I've actually watched Corinthians in a very long time. Seeing Hamilton start will be interesting. Want to see how much he gains off of the line. Well, yesterday is anything to go by. He'll be absolutely flying off the line. But I'm not sure it'll be as easy as it was yesterday. Here we go then. Changed his rear wing as Kimi Räikkönen. There we go. Changed his rear wing. So it's going to be starting from the pit lane. But that is how we are going to begin the race. I'm going to try and keep this updated as quickly as I possibly can throughout the Grand Prix. Get some stretches in, get ready and raring to go. Got my comically oversized water bottle that is almost empty. But we are ready to go. And as I said, I love Brazil. I do just love this track. I just absolutely cannot get enough of the Brazil Grand Prix. It is a wonderful, wonderful track. Here we go then. A minute to go where I am. You guys might even be watching the formation lap as of now. But if you wanna line yourself up with me, Pale Max, what happened to Kimi? He took a new rear wing. Everybody starting on the medium compound tyre except Yuki Tsunoda. One man has gone against the grain here and is starting on the softs. So, what was he on yesterday? I think he was on the mediums yesterday. And maybe he's gone for a little one. Here we go then. Lewis Hamilton in the middle of the pack, just in front of Daniel Ricciardo, and Sebastian Vettel is the man in front of him. Oh my goodness me, I just can't wait. Can we hurry up time at this point? As we're looking at the Rolex clock. Hello, Jocker. You're right, mate. Just in time. As Verstappen has just darted in front of Bottas down towards turn 1, and then Bottas promptly takes that back as we go for this formation lap. And yeah, I think it's usually a two-stopper around here. Oh, that's come on. It's usually a two-stopper. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda on the softs, interesting. Interesting indeed. But I would like Yuki to do well, to be fair. I would like Yuki to do well. He was very unlucky last time out in Mexico. I feel anyway. Like he qualified very, very well indeed, but then had to start from the back anyway. And just couldn't really get to grips with getting through the pack, could he? If Sev covers him off. Yeah, to be fair, Sebastian Vettel is quite the driver to try and get past. He is very good at defending. Obviously, he didn't give up too much of a fight yesterday for Hamilton, but as I was saying, those guys knew that Hamilton was going to be dropping back anyway, so he probably didn't need to put up too much of a fight. Although Daniel Ricciardo probably regretting that because he actually is starting behind Lewis Hamilton. So it's a bit of a 50-50 for those guys, wasn't it? It was like, don't DNF, don't fight Lewis Hamilton when you don't need to, but at the same time, don't go crazy. I guess medium, soft, or medium, soft, medium. It's usually the hards, actually, I think, because it's so hot around here. It'll probably be mediums onto hards, or medium, hard, probably. I don't imagine many people will go for the softs, to be honest. It looks very, very hot for the soft compound tyre, and they degrade quite quickly. As Kimi Räikkönen is in the pit lane. Here we go then. We're coming around the final corner. Lewis Hamilton just slowing up the pack a little bit. Maybe trying to cause the guys in front to lose a little bit of temperature in their tyres. Very tactical from Lewis. It's the sort of thing that you love to see. Here we go then. Down into turn 1. It's going to get very, very tasty as we're just waiting for Nikita Mazepin to join the back of the pack. Here we go. I'm quite nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. I haven't really got any chickens in the game. Is that a saying? Probably not. Here we go then. The lights are up. And here we go. The lights are away. And Bottas gets another good start. Verstappen is going to be on the inside, though, down into turn 1. And Verstappen is going to take the lead of this race. Lando Norris is put wide. And Lando Norris is going to lose a lot of positions and drop all the way to the back. That is poor from Lando, bless him. But where is Lewis Hamilton as Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc go wheel to wheel down in towards turn 4? Charles Leclerc tries to come inside and does indeed makes it count past his teammate, although everybody goes wide. round turn 4. And the Aston Martin of Sebastian Vettel is making up places like a maniac. I'm going to get rid of this because it's irrelevant. Irrelevant. Verstappen, Perez, Bottas, currently our top 3. Charles Leclerc's got past his teammate in Sainz. Vettel all the way up into 6th. Hamilton all the way up into 7th already. Pierre Gasly, Ocon, Ricciardo make up the top 10. Alonso dropping out into 11th place. Stroll down to 13th. And oh my goodness me, it's so close between the Alpines around the outside. Daniel Ricciardo makes it past Ocon though. And Alonso nearly makes it past as well. Although Ocon has another little look at Daniel Ricciardo. Not quite enough to get past. Lando Norris on the radio. Something's gone wrong for Lando Norris. Going very, very, very slowly indeed. Mick Schumacher and Mazepin have actually managed to get in front of the Williamses as we go down towards turn 1. And Hamilton gets past Vettel into 6th place. Sorry, who was saying that Hamilton might not be able to get up to the podiums? He's already up into 6th from 10th and is bearing down on Carlos Sainz now. Has a little look at him down into turn 4. Lewis Hamilton absolutely on fire at this point. My goodness me. Okay, let's see if we can update this board for you then, because it's got a little bit wild all of a sudden. So we've got Lando Norris, unfortunately, in the pits. Kimi Räikkönen just in front of him. Latifi, and has he got a puncture? I think Lando Norris might have a puncture. Or at least some sort of damage to one of those tyres, because it just did not look clean in the pit lane. What have we got? Latifi and Russell, with Mazepin and Mick Schumacher ahead of them. Oh my god, and the Mercedes just continuing to gain. Fastest lap from Verstappen though. And Lewis Hamilton now having a look at Carlos Sainz down into turn 1. And does make it count. Hamilton all the way up into 5th in just 2 laps and a corner. Now bearing down on Charles Leclerc and will soon be behind his teammate in Valtteri Bottas. Bottas obviously losing out to both of the Red Bull cars. Perez in 2nd, Verstappen in 1st. Let's have a little look where Hamilton makes up these places. Oh, it's Lando Norris. Oh, and it is, it's a puncture for Lando Norris. He comes into contact with Charles Leclerc off of the start. I think Lando gets an amazing start, and Charles Leclerc just tries to cover him off and actually makes contact with his rear left wheel. And I think Charles Leclerc might even get a... Oh, no, it's Carlos Sainz. It's Carlos Sainz. Oof. And Carlos Sainz saying that he couldn't do anything. He got squeezed over to the right-hand side after Lando Norris got a much better start, it has to be said, and managed to make up places off of the starting grid. Bottas looked fine, and then suddenly Max Verstappen just made it count, and Sergio Perez being the one to also jump on it, because obviously you go down to first, you go for 1, 2, 3, and then you're down towards 4. Again, with another opportunity to overtake down into turn 4. Sergio Perez decides to go around the outside and then cuts back in to the inside and just makes that stick really, really well. Bottas had one job, no. Bottas indeed has one job. Lewis Hamilton does so well, though. Gets in front of both Alpines. Both the Alpine straight away of Ocon. And Vettel just in front of him. Gasly there as well. But Lewis Hamilton just doing so well off of the start. And then already gets himself past Carlos Sainz. And is he going to be able to get past Charles Leclerc too, is the question. Yuki Tsunoda, what's gone on with him? Oh, contact with Yuki Tsunoda and Lance Stroll. So Yuki Tsunoda's going to drop all the way back as well. Lance Stroll coming into contact with Yuki, and the front wing completely disintegrates off the front of that AlphaTauri. So, as Hamilton has got past Bottas. There's a lot of debris on the track as well, so we might end up seeing a safety car if they can't get that sorted very quickly. Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race and takes 3rd position. So we missed, unfortunately, him overtaking Charles Leclerc, but obviously it wasn't too tricky because we're 5 laps into this race and Lewis Hamilton is into the podium positions. Oh my goodness me. What is going on? Lewis Hamilton's absolutely flying out there. I don't think there's any other words to use, just absolutely flying. A new front wing for Yuki Tsunoda then, as George Russell really is not having a weekend to remember, is he? Dropping down behind Kimi Räikkönen now and Latifi. Here we go. So Latifi, Mick actually behind Mazepin now as well. So Nikita making up a position on his teammate. Giovinazzi just in front of them. And then it's Stroll, the man who came in contact with Yuki Tsunoda. We've got Alonso in 11th place. Ooh. In 11th. We've got Ricciardo also gaining a place because Lando Norris dropped down. Ocon and Gasly just in front of those. Those two, there's no love lost between them. I'm sure they won't mind battling each other a little bit this afternoon. Just in front of Gasly is Sebastian Vettel, who started exceptionally well. And then Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc have also swapped places after the start. Bottas down into 4th. Hamilton up into 3rd. Perez 2nd. And Verstappen leading this Grand Prix. There we go. As Hamilton thanks Valtteri for letting him past. Yeah, I just want Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, as we do have a safety car then. We do have a safety car. So currently under safety car conditions because the front wing of that AlphaTauri is poised for somebody to hit into at some point, isn't it? You know, it's just on the outside of turn 1, turn 2. And lots of debris actually on the outsides of turn 1. Like you can't be doing overtakes down there into turn 1 because you just wouldn't be able to go off the racing line without giving yourself a puncture. So they're going to have to clean that up once the cars join the back of the safety car then. Wow, what a start. What a start. So many position changes. Apologies it took me a second just to catch up with those. Because it just all happened. Hamilton jumped up 7 places. Yuki Tsunoda had a little bit of trouble. Lando Norris had a little bit of trouble. And I think Stroll might pick up a penalty for... Stroll technically does have track position and kind of just closes the door on Yuki Tsunoda there. But Yuki Tsunoda, obviously, with a new front wing, doesn't have to change now his tyres again if he doesn't want to. As George Russell comes in and pits for some harder compound tyres. So obviously not happy with the car at this moment in time is George Russell. This is quite good, though, for Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda. They'll be able to catch up to the back of the pack, hopefully. Although Lando Norris quite a way behind everybody else, almost a lap down already, is Lando. But does get an opportunity to at least catch up a little bit under the safety car. And the safety car is going to go through the pit lane, which does make sense because it's on turn 1 and they just gives the marshals an opportunity to actually get onto the track and sweep up as much of that debris as possible. Lewis Hamilton on the radio. Tell Valtteri to follow me. Keep going. Let's get these guys. Lewis Hamilton wanting Bottas to be there with him and for him in this battle with the Red Bulls. The safety car just pulls into the pit lane now with Max Verstappen just following behind. Sergio Perez in 2nd place. Hamilton 3rd, Bottas 4th. Leclerc 5th and Carlos Sainz is dropped down to 6th place now. Vettel done really well to get up into 7th. Pierre Gasly would be fairly happy with an 8th place, I think, if you gave him that at the beginning of the weekend. But after his qualifying performance, you'd have thought maybe it would have been a little bit higher. As we're seeing the start again from the perspective of Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez gets a good start, actually, and just sort of bides his time. Knows that Valtteri Bottas obviously isn't going to have the straight line speed down into turn 4. and is going to have to do something to cover off the Red Bull. And then just, comes back towards that racing line. Valtteri Bottas goes wide into turn 4. And Sergio Perez is there to pick up the pieces and take second place from him. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton being very encouraging to his teammate, actually. And, Valtteri Bottas did a very kind thing to set his teammate in front of him. Obviously, Hamilton has shown over the course of the weekend he is the faster of the two Mercedes, really. So you can't really blame Bottas. You can't blame Mercedes for making that decision on Bottas's no idea. Can we make a vote for Pro Max and Pro Lewis? We could do, to be fair. We could do. I imagine it's probably 50-50-ish. 50-50-ish. I don't really mind who wins, to be honest with you. I'm just absolutely gutted that Lando Norris is down in 20th place. How much longer is the safety car out for? We're not sure yet. I think maybe another lap or so. It's quite a short lap around here in Brazil. So they're going through the pit lane again behind the safety car. So the second time that we're going through the pit lane behind the safety car. Bert Mylander and Richard Darker there in the safety car. And just trying to set a reasonable pace for these Formula One cars because they are just so much quicker than this Mercedes car. And that's absolutely insane, by the way. Like, if you got in that Mercedes, you'd be astounded by the amount of power and how quick that car is. And yet, these Formula One cars make it look like it is standing still. It's just amazing to me how they do it. Oops. I just realised I bodged the thing a bit. Poor Lando, poor Yuki, and the TV star of the weekend. Love that. Bad birthday present. Not my birthday until next week. And Lando Norris is going to win, because that's what I want for my birthday. That's what I've asked for. I've asked for Formula One to let Lando Norris win a race for my birthday. That's what I've asked for. And that's what I will get. Here we go then. Safety car is in at the end of this lap. Oh, Ben, you beat me to it. Safety car is indeed in at the end of this lap. Here we go. Hazard is now cleared. Racing is resuming at the end of this lap. And Lewis Hamilton, again, has sort of come out on top here because he is now right underneath the rear wing of Sergio Perez. Now, how do Red Bull play this? Will Sergio Perez try and hold up Hamilton for a little while and maybe give Verstappen an opportunity to make up a couple of seconds? Or will they both go together and just assume that they can both defend from Lewis Hamilton behind? Will Valtteri Bottas be able to help out Lewis Hamilton in any way? Maybe being able to jump Sergio Perez at a similar sort of time if Hamilton's able to run it down into turn 1 behind him as these cars weave now round towards the final couple of corners. Of course, Max Verstappen is now in charge of when these cars get to launch themselves forward. Gets to the pit lane entry, still weaving. Lewis Hamilton coming up the inside, having a little look at Sergio Perez. And now Verstappen goes for it. The restart is underway and we go down towards turn 1. Lewis Hamilton already having a look at Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc, though, having a look around the outside of Valtteri Bottas and can't quite make it stick. George Russell, though, making up a place on Kimi Räikkönen, and Lando Norris, it looks like, making up a place on Yuki Tsunoda. But everybody else all packed up together. Daniel Ricciardo having a little look at Esteban Ocon. Can't quite make it work down in towards turn 4. But it's right at the front of the grid where we are interested. Charles Leclerc has another look at Valtteri Bottas. Bottas really struggling to defend from that Ferrari, but just about keeps his Mercedes in front for another few corners. Latifi has dropped down quite a few places now, and Raikkonen's been able to jump up into 16th place. So let's pop Kimi Räikkönen up in here. Then Norris has been able to do pretty well. Just got behind Kimi Raikkonen, Yuki Tsunoda, and then Latifi and Russell at the back of the pack now. Here we go then, down in towards turn 1. What can Lewis Hamilton do? Oh, not so sure. That is under investigation, actually. The Stroll and Tsunoda incident. That is under investigation. And I don't really know how I feel about it. I only saw it once. But, Kimi Raikkonen making up play. Oh, Mick Schumacher dropping all the way down. I think there might have been something wrong with Mick. Here we go then. Lewis Hamilton having another look at Sergio Perez. Not quite yet. Maybe biding his time just slightly. Oh, and his front wing is all over the place. Yeah, Mick Schumacher lost his front wing there and has dropped all the way down. So Raikkonen has obviously gained a place. Norris, Tsunoda also gaining. And more debris, actually, from Mick Schumacher's front wing. What actually happens then? Possibly with Kimi Raikkonen. It is indeed. So he's side by side with Kimi. Oh, and they do touch. They do indeed touch one another, and Mick Schumacher is now going to drop all the way down to the back of the race. And a virtual safety car now then. So Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc are top 5. Carlos Sainz is in 6th still. Vettel, Gasly, Ricciardo, and Ocon. Gasly. Oh, Ricciardo's jumped in front of Ocon. And Stroll and Alonso have also swapped places. Haas just chuck the front wing across the pit lane. Get that off Mick Schumacher's car as quickly as possible. Although there is a bit of debris from Mick Schumacher's car that is on the circuit. And we're currently just trying to get that sorted out under a virtual safety car. Stroll and Alonso, Giovinazzi just behind them. Mazepin still running 14th in a Haas. Lando Norris has jumped in front of Kimi Raikkonen, though. And is still running in front of Tsunoda, Latifi, and Russell. Virtual safety car. Come on, guys. We want some real racing. We want some real racing. This is affecting, though, the tyre strategies. Obviously, might go towards a one-stop-ish. If we're under the safety car for much, much longer, or if we go under the safety car again, because these tyres are just being nursed a little bit by the guys on track at the moment. Sergio Perez going really slowly under this virtual safety car, giving a 3-second lead to Verstappen at this point. We're only on lap 12, and it feels like there's been a lot go on today. And we haven't had too much racing, realistically. But we're just waiting again. We're patient. They really need to put the safety car out? I don't think so. I think the virtual safety car will be fine because the cars were all fairly close to one another anyway. And it is only a tiny bit of debris that they need to just go out there and grab. So if they're super quick with it, I think the virtual safety car was the right decision. But we'll obviously see in the next couple of laps or so. If it doesn't come in, then yeah, we should have had a full safety car to get this done a little bit quicker. Lando Norris, of course, has already pitted after dropping backwards to the back of the grid after that puncture. So he's done pretty well under the safety car and virtual safety car because he's now back with the pack. Has Mazepin in front of him. Now it's time for Mazepin to not spin out of track position. I don't think he will. I think he's done fairly decently as Latifi comes into the pit lane. So Latifi is going to drop behind his teammate George Russell. Obviously, oh, here we go. We're underway. The green is go, and we're back underway with this racing then. Perez is about 1.3 seconds behind Verstappen, and Hamilton probably not going to be very happy with that that virtual safety car restart. Seemed a little bit strange to me, but that's just the way it is. Oh, Yuki Tsunoda has dropped a place to George Russell at the back, so we can swap those two around. Here we go then. Down into turn one. What can Lewis Hamilton have a look at? Let's see how much straight line speed this Mercedes has got. Obviously, still no DRS because we have not restarted for long enough, but the DRS will be coming for Lewis Hamilton within the next few laps, you would imagine. Then both of the Ferraris behind, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Vettel in 7th place. Pretty good race for Vettel if he can finish 7th. Like, he's going to have to do some defending from Pierre Gasly and Daniel Ricciardo, but we'll have to wait and see. Vettel is a veteran of the game at this point, as again we're watching Sergio Perez now. And you can just see Hamilton gaining and gaining on him towards the corners, but not quite enough. Yuki Tsunoda, a 10-second penalty for causing that collision. Seems maybe a little bit harsh, although he did go down the inside, and I guess Stroll had track position. I don't know, I've only seen it once, but it seemed it's a bit of a race incident, but Yuki Tsunoda's got a 10-second penalty. Currently running in 18th, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. What happened at the start to get both Red Bulls in front? Bottas just sort of disappeared. Verstappen got in front of Bottas around turn 1, and then down in towards turn 4, we then had Sergio Perez get past Bottas as well. So both Red Bulls just really, really good starts. Here we go then. Oof. Hamilton not quite still. Now, here we go then. Can Lewis Hamilton get himself within DRS? We still need DRS to come back into fruition, but Hamilton is keeping himself within the window. Oops, Sergio Perez gets Max to give me DRS. So Sergio Perez also thinking about himself in this position. Obviously, if Sergio Perez is within a second of Verstappen, he'll get DRS as well. But currently, Verstappen is just a little bit too far ahead to give any kind of tow to his teammate. Hamilton, though, does have DRS, and Sergio Perez does not. Hamilton gets it down into turn 1, doesn't make a move this time, but has another opportunity down in towards turn 4. Let's see what he can do down in towards turn 4. Again, clicks on the DRS. Gains and gains and gains, and has a little look, but not quite enough. The red light on Sergio Perez's car still flashing, harvesting the energy and hoping that that battery power can keep him ahead of the Mercedes Silver Arrow. Hamilton still having another little look, actually, as we go through this middle sector, but keeping Bottas as well within a second of him. So both of the Mercedes with DRS currently, and Perez just holding on for dear life, it seems, with both Mercedes cars behind him. Thank you all so much. We have 31 likes for the stream. Thank you all so much. If you haven't left a like, please do, because we're in for a wonderful finish to this race. It's barely started, and yet it seems like we have seen so much action already. Lewis Hamilton down into turn 1 then. weaves around on the track. Can he go around the outside? And Lewis Hamilton does make it happen. Round the outside into turn 1, makes it stick through turn 2. Sergio Perez will be able to fight back, though. Down towards turn 4 they go. Sergio Perez, this time with the DRS in the Red Bull, is going to have a little go down into turn 4 and gets it back. Sergio Perez gets back in front of the Mercedes. Hamilton is going to have to go again. Now, Hamilton thought he got it done, and then Sergio Perez, given half a chance, jumps back in front of the Silver Arrow. Lewis Hamilton's not going to be very happy about that, but Perez doing everything he can to hold up Hamilton. Verstappen now 3.3 seconds ahead of his teammate and nearly 4 seconds ahead of his title rival in Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas dropping down to over a second behind his teammate means that he will no longer get DRS. Hopefully he can get back within that DRS zone and help Lewis Hamilton with this battle and the Red Bulls. But we go around one more lap and back down towards turn 1. What is Hamilton going to do this time? Will he go for it in turn 1 again, or will he wait for turn 4? Sergio Perez weaves to the inside. Hamilton goes for the outside again. It's basically a carbon copy of what we had before. Lewis Hamilton makes it look easy round the outside, but Sergio Perez again is going to have DRS down in towards turn 4. Has Hamilton been able to keep it just a little bit better? He has indeed. Sergio Perez, this time, I'm afraid it's not going to happen. And Valtteri Bottas actually has a little look at Sergio Perez on the way down towards turn 4. So Hamilton gets up into second place. And now we're looking at whether or not he can catch Verstappen in front of him. Hamilton's gained 8 places in this Grand Prix already. What is going on at that Mercedes car? That is just obscene. Petition to make Brazil the finale again. I know, Ben. It should be, right? It's just such a good race every single time we are here. Keep hydrated. Everything has gone against Hamilton this weekend. Obviously, starting 20th in the sprint race and having to take a new ICE, starting 10th here today, all the way up into 2nd already. Valtteri Bottas now in DRS behind Sergio Perez. Doesn't have a look down in towards turn 1, though. Come on, Bottas. Let's see what you can do. I'd quite like to see Bottas get a podium. I know I'd quite like to see Sergio Perez get a podium too. But I just like seeing Bottas do well. Even though I don't really rate him. But now I know that he's leaving Mercedes, I'd just quite like him to get a few more podiums and stuff before he leaves. Because I do quite like him as a person. Hamilton, though, does just... Sergio Perez tries to, take the inside line, but Hamilton's passed him by the time they get to the corner. Really has got so much straight line speed with the DRS, and does have tries to go back, does Sergio Perez. Obviously tries to do the same as he did the lap before, but not quite able to do it. Hamilton obviously just wanting, the overtake points for the overtake championship. That's why he decided to let Sergio Perez back again last lap. But then he was like, actually, you know what? I need to get going. Oh, we're on board with Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo. And Sebastian Vettel actually does make a really nice, clean move past Daniel Ricciardo. And I need to update that a little bit because Gasly has got himself up there and Vettel has just got himself back in front of Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, no, and he's just dropped behind Daniel Ricciardo again. Okay. And where are we then? So we've got Vettel, Ocon, yes. Stroll, yes. Giovinazzi. And then Norris in here. Where are we? Sounds good so far. DC reckons Hamilton is on for the win. I mean, he's looking very good, Jim. He's looking very, very good. But a win would be a lot, I would say. Latifi, Mazepin all the way back down here. Sorry, I've been so fixated on the front of the race. I've forgotten about these guys at the back. Shuffling themselves around a little bit. And George Russell is in front of him. So what? Mick, Latifi, Mazepin, Russell, Raikkonen. Yes. Tsunoda, Norris, Gio. Tsunoda, Norris, Gio, Stroll. Stroll, Alonso. Oh, Stroll, Alonso. Ocon, Vettel, Ricciardo, Gasly, Sainz, Leclerc, Bottas, Perez, Hamilton, Verstappen. I don't want the season to end. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's been absolutely vintage. But also, I'm really excited for next season too. It's a bit of a weird one. It's like I'm so excited for next season, but also I'd like to this season to just keep going on and on and on because it's been so good. Do I think Lewis can close the gap to Max? Most definitely. He's been flying around the track in the last couple of sessions. We've got to remember he did get pole position as well, even if it was with a slightly bent rear wing. And Max Verstappen, though, is eking out a little bit of a lead. Hamilton in second place, currently 3.6 seconds behind. And we're getting towards where people might be thinking about changing onto the harder compound tyre, although because we've had the safety car, maybe not, to be honest. Oh, and Verstappen, just being told on the radio there that they hold the advantage in the middle sector. Obviously, they don't have the straight line speed of the Mercedes, but they've been going for it as Stroll comes into the pits now then. So is deciding to change up his tyres fairly early, actually. Does mean Giovinazzi, Norris, Tsunoda are going to make up places. And then we're what? Raikkonen, Russell, Mazepin, Latifi, Stroll. Here we go then. Where are we? So Stroll has decided to come in and pit then. You've got to remember, Lando Norris has technically already pitted. Mick Schumacher's technically already pitted too. Although sort of outside the window that you'd have expected them to. I imagine they, won't go for a 3-stop. They'll maybe try and make these harder compound tyres last a little bit longer because of the safety cars. Ooh, as we're on board with Lando Norris now. Is gaining on Giovinazzi. And Giovinazzi is going to be under a little bit of pressure from the McLaren within the next couple of laps. So Lando Norris with this sort of aim, I'd imagine, of getting back into the points with the Constructors' Championship on the line. And obviously Charles Leclerc just 12 points behind him now in the Drivers' Championship. I'll pop it up for you guys just for a second because, Lando Norris has been probably the form driver of the season. Has dropped off a little bit. Oh, as Verstappen saying that he's sliding around a little bit now. Lando Norris has probably been the driver of the season for me so far. It's dropped off a little bit in the last few races, but could be Charles Leclerc overtaking him in the Drivers' Championship by the time we get towards the end of the season. I'm just having a little look at the statistics. Lewis Hamilton a little bit slower than Max Verstappen last lap, and actually down towards 4 seconds behind Verstappen. And Verstappen looking fairly comfortable on these medium compound tyres. Ben, who pits first? Ooh. I think the problem is you come out in so much traffic at this point. Because we've had the safety car and the virtual safety car, it's sort of concertinaed everybody together in the midfield. So if Hamilton pits now, he's going to be coming out in an awkward part of the track. You've sort of got your Ricciardos and Gaslys in and around where Hamilton would be coming out, and they're having their own race between themselves as well. So you don't really want to come out with those guys and contend with them again after you've already overtaken them once this race. And then similar for Verstappen, he'll come out just, around about Gasly, Ricciardo as well, to be fair. Maybe even Carlos Sainz in the mix there for Verstappen. So maybe they'll wait for other teams just to make a little bit of a move. Maybe wait for one of the Ferraris to blink and see what kind of pace they've got once they change onto the harder compound tyre. As I say that, Pierre Gasly decides to come into the pit lane on his mediums and will change for the harder compound tyre. So Gasly maybe doing Red Bull a bit of a favour here. Obviously going to go onto the harder compound tyre and they can start to have a little look at whether or not Gasly is gaining or losing some time compared to everybody else around him. So Gasly, let's see what Gasly's times are like, and if Gasly's times are, something to go by, we'll see if he gains anything in comparison. He's come out in a little bit of space. He's got Raikkonen just in front of him. But yeah, the pit cycle is going to start to click into gear now. We've got to remember, we've got Sergio Perez and Bottas as well that can both come in and do a little bit of scouting, I guess, for their teammates in front of them. Oh, and speak of the devil, Hamilton does come in. Mercedes go early onto the hard compound tyre. They're being aggressive with this strategy. And to be fair, we've seen Mercedes be a little bit cautious over the last few races or so. And definitely not being cautious with this one, coming in quite early indeed. And so is Carlos Sainz. So Hamilton is going to come out behind Daniel Ricciardo because Carlos Sainz is also going to pit. Obviously, Gasly pitted too. It'd be interesting to see where Carlos Sainz comes out, around about Yuki Tsunoda in there. Who's second? Technically Hamilton, although Hamilton has just pitted, so Sergio Perez takes second place from him. And Verstappen is probably going to come in fairly swiftly after Hamilton, right? It's going to try and cover that pit stop. Verstappen now coming around turn 14 towards the pit lane entry. And box. Verstappen is indeed coming in too. So Hamilton's only going to have this one lap extra on his hard compound tyres. Come on then, let's see what Red Bull can do. Known for a good pit stop are Red Bull, and they don't make any mistakes again. 2.4 second stop, and Verstappen is going to come out ahead of Hamilton, but how far ahead is the question. Lewis Hamilton speeding along behind Daniel Ricciardo is indeed going to hit a little bit of that traffic, and Max Verstappen's going to come out ahead of both of them. So now Hamilton needs to get past Daniel Ricciardo here. He does indeed. Hamilton does get past Daniel Ricciardo down towards turn 4. So Hamilton now right behind Verstappen and has gained considerably on Verstappen as well. That gap has closed a lot by the time they come out of the pit lane. Hamilton in 4th place then. Let's update some of these boards for you. So Perez now in the lead of this race, but as I said, yet to have stopped. Bottas just behind him. Then Verstappen in 3rd. Oops. And we don't really know how these hard compound tyres are going to go, but we're going to see because everybody has gone onto them. Oh, Bottas is continuing on. And Perez now in the pits. Perez in the pits then. Hamilton and Verstappen coming down the pit straight. So obviously Sergio Perez is going to drop behind them. And might even drop behind Daniel Ricciardo too, will Sergio Perez? Yeah, he will. Just drop behind Daniel Ricciardo as well. But Daniel Ricciardo obviously yet to have pitted. Bottas is going to be pitting soon, though, because Bottas is slow. Oh, and Lando Norris going wheel to wheel with Carlos Sainz, but not quite being able to. Ocon, Alonso, Leclerc, and Sainz just behind. Whoa. Some updates coming. And Norris is all the way up into 10th right now. Gasly just behind them. Giovinazzi. Then Sonoda. And Russell. Vettel, Stroll. Oh, and Gasly's going to get past Lando Norris. Giovinazzi's just come into the pits. That's messed up, my thing. Here we go. I'll pop it out for you. It's a little bit wrong, but we'll continue to update it as we get along. Oh, is there a little bit more debris off of the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll? Oh, that's a lot of debris off of Lance Stroll's car on the pit straight. Where does it go? It does disappear off to the left-hand side of the track as he's overtaking Latifi there. Oh, it is a virtual safety car again. So Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Perez, Ocon, Alonso. But Bottas is going to come in. And it's a real easy stop for Bottas. Bottas is going to come out in front of Sergio Perez. So Verstappen and Hamilton are going to jump back to the front of this pack. Oops. And Bottas has jumped up a little bit. Ooh. Goodness me, what am I doing? Ricciardo. Oh, Ricciardo's just stopped as well. No! People stop stopping. Oh, Christ. Sainz and then Gasly behind Sainz. Ricciardo, then Norris. Hamilton getting closer and closer, by the way. He's going to be within DRS fairly soon. Yuki Tsunoda and Lando Norris have come out sort of looking fairly pretty after their poor starts to the race. Obviously, pitting a little bit earlier and then the safety car coming to their rescue a little bit. George Russell just behind them. Then it is Ocon. And Vettel and Stroll find themselves up here. Giovinazzi, Latifi. Mazepin, Raikkonen, Mick. As we're now going to have a little look at Hamilton getting a little bit of DRS, actually. There we go. Here we go. Verstappen does actually defend quite well from Hamilton there. Does pretty good. So who's yet to have pitted as Raikkonen gets in front of Mazepin? Alonso hasn't pitted yet, has he? Or is he actually in fifth? No, he hasn't pitted yet. That's a shame. Wow, Bottas, fastest lap of the race then. So the Mercedes are now going for it. Alonso, I think, has come into the pits now. Or at least Leclerc has made up a position. Oh, no, I think Leclerc just made that position up on track. Charles Leclerc does indeed. He passes Alonso on the track. Whew. When are we getting a heartbeat counter? Yeah, might need one, to be fair. Might need one. It's getting tense, isn't it? We're about halfway through the Grand Prix now. Most people have stopped once. Alonso, sort of the exception to that rule. Raikkonen has moved past Latifi now. Raikkonen making a little bit of a charge through that rear end of the field. But George Russell doing pretty well. Ocon actually jumping in front of Russell as I say that. Max Verstappen being told over the radio they're quicker in the middle sector. It's just the straight line deficit that they have. Oops. I feel like Hamilton might go to mediums. Yeah, to be fair, like I feel like everyone stopped around about when they would have. No, well, maybe a little bit later, obviously because of the safety car and virtual safety car, but not that much later than I was expecting. Hamilton 1.4 seconds behind Verstappen now, to be fair, is struggling to keep up with Verstappen in the middle sector. But maybe it's just, holding on to these tyres a little bit. Because Verstappen's going to have to really rattle through the first and third sectors with those straight lines to try and gain on Lewis Hamilton in the middle sector. Valtteri Bottas has dropped off a little bit, 4 seconds, nearly 5 seconds actually behind Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez in 4th place. Charles Leclerc 5th. Alonso in 6th. Finally does pit actually. So Alonso is going to drop down. And we're going to see Carlos Sainz and Gasly, Ricciardo, Norris, Tsunoda, Ocon all game places. And Alonso actually comes out behind George Russell and in front of Lance Stroll. Hamilton's just dropped back another little bit. Red Bull's top speed 306, whereas Merck's 334. Wow, that is a massive difference, isn't it? But at the same time, it's not gone great for Fernando Alonso. That was a super slow stop. That's why he came out. I was like, why on earth is he behind George Russell? Surely he should be behind Ocon. But not great for Alonso. Slow stop. Only a little slow, but slow. And they are the margins in Formula 1. Lewis, I don't know whether he's just biding his time. Like, he sort of does a lap where he's a lot quicker, then a couple of laps where he's just a tad slower, and it's just sort of balancing out those two between one another at this point. But Lewis Hamilton will have another little look at Max Verstappen, I am sure. And we are just halfway through this race now, and still a long, long way to go. So Mercedes have the opportunity to bide their time a little. We are going to have another pit stop session at some point, you would imagine. Alonso jumps in front of Russell there. Here we go then. Red Bull obviously also a little bit concerned by Sergio Perez at this point. He is dropping back from Bottas pretty much every lap, sorry. Performance upgrade or naturally that fast? Just naturally that fast. The Mercedes is a faster straight line engine, but usually not this fast. So maybe a little bit of an upgrade. As we look now at Esteban Ocon in the Alpine, looking at the back of the Alpha Tower of Yuki Tsunoda. Goes behind him, gets the slipstream, goes around the outside, makes it look comfortable. And Yuki Tsunoda drops out of the points then. That is unfortunate for Yuki. Drops down into 11th place. And the Constructors' Championship, AlphaTauri will gain 6 points. Alpine, obviously, the 1 from Ocon. Means that AlphaTauri will be just a little bit ahead. McLaren not looking good, though. 8th and 9th. When Ferrari are going to be gaining a chunk of points in 5th and 6th. And looking fairly comfortably 5th and 6th as well. Although Pierre Gasly will be the man to maybe try and do something about that. It is just so impressive from Pierre Gasly that he's always in and amongst it with those cars. Just makes you think, what could this AlphaTauri have achieved if, they weren't a little bit unlucky with some of the results this season? Toto Wolff, looking at the data, I'm sure is fairly happy with Hamilton gaining 8 places, but would love Hamilton to gain 9. Lando Norris is coming into the pits then for his second stop of the Grand Prix. Obviously, the first one was forced because he had a puncture off the start line, a little bit of a collision with his former teammate in Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris, though, is going to come out in 17th place. So, obviously not a vintage race from Lando Norris at this point in the season, but he maybe can bounce back from that. He's going to be early on those tyres, so he needs to get the best out of them now that he possibly can. Vettel and Alonso and Russell and Stroll and Gio and Raikkonen all gain because Lando Norris has pitted. And here we go then. Who are we watching now? We're looking at Vettel having a look at Yuki Tsunoda now. So Yuki Tsunoda looking like a little bit of a sitting duck on his very old hard compound tyres in comparison to everybody else. But could lose out to Sebastian Vettel, will lose out to Sebastian Vettel by the looks of things, but could lose out to Fernando Alonso as well in the same corner. And that is indeed 2 places in 1 corner. And the old boys doing their tricks together. Vettel and Alonso jumping up with Tsunoda dropping down. Good move from Sebastian Vettel. Gets in the slipstream, gets DRS, goes very early, commits to the move, and then Yuki Tsunoda's a little bit of a sitting duck for Fernando Alonso as well, with DRS, and down towards turn 1 they go. So Hamilton being told to push on those tyres a little bit, and has seemingly pushed. Ooh. Hamilton on the radio being asked which tyre he'd prefer, the medium or hard, if they do change tyre. But he says whichever one they go for, switch. Lovely stuff. Hamilton trying to play a little bit of mind games with Red Bull. And Red Bull under a little bit of pressure from Mercedes to pick the strategy first. Yuki Tsunoda now comes into the pits. Oh, and Verstappen comes into the pits. Okay, I'm gonna pop this away just for a second while we have this. Because Verstappen comes in early, hard compound tyre. Early pick for Verstappen, hard compound tyre. Didn't want to be undercut again. And has stopped early. And Latifi comes out in front of the Red Bull. That will slow him down considerably. Even though it's going to be blue flags down towards turn 4. But he's not going to be very happy about it, is Max Verstappen. And is Latifi going to let him pass straight away? Yes, he does indeed. But even so, Latifi, a little bit frustrating for Verstappen there. So where's Vettel? Verstappen's come out 4th. And has made the final pit stop, you'd imagine, with 30 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. So let's see then. Verstappen's got a little bit of air because he's 10 seconds behind Perez now. But Hamilton has obviously got clean air because he's now leading this race. So can he make up enough time, even though Max Verstappen's on the harder compound tyre and fresher tyres? Bottas is the Mercedes that comes into the pit. So Bottas is going to cover Max Verstappen. So Bottas is going to cover Max Verstappen. Hamilton is going to stay out, as is Sergio Perez. This is very interesting mind games between Mercedes and Red Bull at this point. Bottas coming in to cover Verstappen. Let's see where he's going to come out. Bottas just questioning it on the radio, but being told to absolutely go for it. Is going to drop behind Charles Leclerc, actually, on track. So Bottas needs to get past that Ferrari as quickly as he possibly can, because Charles Leclerc on some quite old medium tyres at this point. Verstappen obviously with lovely clear air, and unfortunately Bottas with not so clean air with the Ferrari in front of him. We're on board with Lance Stroll though. What's he been up to? Going down towards turn 1. Is that George Russell on the inside? He is indeed, and he just makes it look easy. Gets past the Williams fairly swiftly there. And Hamilton leading this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez behind him still. And Sergio Perez is coming into the pits as well. Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the race. So not looking good for Hamilton. But maybe Hamilton, going for a different strategy. Maybe he'll go for the medium compound tyres. Bottas gets past Leclerc. And looks like Perez is going to come out behind Charles Leclerc as well. Hopefully not behind Carlos Sainz too, because that would really ruin Red Bull's day. No, he is indeed just going to get ahead. Sergio Perez there is in front of Carlos Sainz. So it's Hamilton from Verstappen again. But Verstappen has stopped. Oh. Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. And Bottas is going to pit, right? Oh, sorry, Hamilton's going to pit. Hamilton's going to pit. Hamilton is going to pit. What tyre have they gone for? They've also gone for the hard compound tyre. So Lewis Hamilton going for the harder compound tyre as well. So let's see then. Hamilton is now in the pits. Obviously, you can see Max Verstappen just coming past the other side of the wall, as Bottas sets the fastest lap of the race. Lewis Hamilton is going to hit a little bit of traffic. No, it's okay. Although Verstappen is now getting past a few of the Alfa Romeos towards the back as well. So Lewis Hamilton is now in second place still. Is 2.7 seconds behind Verstappen, but his tyres a couple of laps cleaner. Oh. Hamilton questioning a little bit the decision to go onto the harder compound tyre, but the team telling him it was the best option, because that medium compound tyre, to be fair, would drop off a cliff towards the end of this race. Oh, and Bottas as well on the radio saying that he thinks they've thrown away a 1-2 finish. Not happy either of the Mercedes boys at this moment in time. I suppose the thing is, right, both of the Mercedes are having a little bit of a go, but surely the guys on the pit wall, they've got to trust. They've got to trust those guys to do the best for them over the course of a race distance. we go. I'll pop the Hamilton asking if the undercut is not powerful, and the team saying no, not really. No, not really for Lewis Hamilton. Having a little bit of a battle with his team on the wall. But Hamilton does just set the fastest lap of the race. So let's see if he can catch up to Max Verstappen on track on the harder compound tyre. Now 1.1 seconds between the two of them. And Hamilton now having a little look at his title rival. So I'm sure he won't be upset about it if he can get ahead in the next couple of laps. But Lewis Hamilton looking very, very quick indeed. And Raikkonen and Norris have just jumped up in front of Stroll, actually. And Christian Horner just explaining that they needed the track position is why they came in early for their stop. So obviously they accept that they have not got the straight line speed of the Mercedes, and therefore if they come in early, they keep their track position over the Mercedes, and hopefully they can do the defensive work, especially in that middle sector. Although Lewis Hamilton getting closer and closer. Does he have DRS? He will have DRS down into turn 1. Didn't have DRS. Will have DRS down into turn 4. He will. Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race using these fresh hard compound tyres to their limit. Does have DRS down in towards turn 4 though. And again, we're going to see Verstappen and Hamilton wheel to wheel within these next few laps. We're on lap 47 of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton follows Verstappen down towards turn 5 and 6. He needs to be keeping himself within that second as we go into the third sector of this lap. Lewis Hamilton then, looking at the championship points, needs this win if he's going to be anywhere close to Verstappen with 3 races left to go. Get your heart monitors on. It is getting very tense indeed. Ooh, he's lost a little bit of time in that middle sector. Is he still within DRS? He is still within DRS, but only just after that middle sector. Down the main straight towards turn 1. Has a tiny little look. Maybe tries to make Verstappen brake late. Doesn't have a little hint of an overtake down towards turn 4 though. Looks so much closer than he did last lap. Does Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 4. Verstappen goes around the outside. Hamilton tries to go around the outside. Verstappen covers him off. Hamilton and Verstappen go wide and have to go across the grass to get back onto the track. Both cars exceptionally wide round here. Oh my goodness me. Both of them braking as late as they possibly could. You could argue later than actually they're allowed to, because neither of them were able to make the corner. Let's have another look at this again then. So Hamilton getting the slipstream from Verstappen, goes to the outside. Verstappen brakes so late and down the inside. And I think Mercedes might be on the radio about that one. I think it's a bit of a racing incident, but Verstappen's so late on the brakes and does push Hamilton really, really wide there. Hamilton has to go wide to get out of it. Hello, Muggle-born badass. That's brilliant. Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Enjoying it. Hamilton does not have DRS, though, down in towards turn 1 this time. So we're going to have to wait another lap for Hamilton to have another go at this then. Verstappen still leading this race. And Hamilton, oh, here we go. Incident involving cars 33 and 44 has been noted by the FIA. So they will be looking into that, I imagine, after the race has finished then. Lewis Hamilton, we're looking at his onboard then. Let's see if Verstappen broke he's so late on the brakes, is Verstappen. Hamilton on the radio complaining about it too. And is under investigation according to the Mercedes team. Tells Hamilton to just have another go again in a couple of laps time. But we are wheel to wheel. Max Verstappen. Now Verstappen making life as difficult as possible for Hamilton. Hamilton is going to have DRS down towards turn 1 this time. No, he doesn't. Doesn't have DRS down. Oh no, sorry, that's... Oh no, that is turn 1. Verstappen saying they're not sure that he can hold on like this until the end of the race. Here we go then. Hamilton does have DRS down into turn 4. Decides against having a look. Obviously, Hamilton on only just fresher, harder compound tyres, but looking much, much quicker down these straight lines. And oh, that's Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll has dropped out of this race then. Looks like he's retired from it. Sorry, I've been paying attention to Hamilton and Verstappen so much that I missed that. Where am I? Penalties coming according to the McLaren team. Love that. I'll pop that away for a sec because I'll sort that out because I just want to watch this. What lap is it? It's lap 51 of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hamilton does have DRS again. Has another little look at Verstappen, but isn't quite close enough. Will he be close enough down in towards turn 4? I think is where it's going to be happening. Hamilton down towards turn 4. Doesn't have a look. Decides against it maybe after what happened last time. And Ricciardo coming into the pits. So Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas is our top 3. Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly. And then Ocon and Alonso have gained after Ricciardo has pitted. Vettel and Norris in and amongst it as well. Norris on the edge of getting points after what has been a really tough race for him in the midfield. Raikkonen obviously gains a place. So does... Oh, and Daniel Ricciardo also has retired from the race. So Giovinazzi is going to gain a place there. Tsunoda and Latifi also. So Tsunoda, Latifi, and then obviously Mazepin and Mick. Ricciardo and Stroll out of this race. There we go then. Red Bull on the radio, letting them race. Can Red Bull let them race? My goodness me. Michael Massey is very, very thankful for the input of Red Bull. Gasly comes into the pits, so Ocon and Alonso are going to gain a little bit. Who's leading? Verstappen currently, but Hamilton gaining very, very quickly indeed. Hamilton with DRS down towards turn 4 again. Race control. No investigation necessary. So Hamilton and Verstappen, that move with Verstappen defending from Hamilton in that way has been deemed okay. And I'm not so sure about that. I'd like to see it again, but from the perspective of Verstappen, Charles Leclerc comes into the pits for Ferrari. And he will be just in front of Alonso, actually, who's been let in front of Ocon. Gasly just behind them. Vettel, Norris on the edge of points there is Lando Norris. Raikkonen, Russell, Giovinazzi, Tsunoda, Latifi, Mazepin, and Mick Schumacher. Do they have to stop again? Not really. You wouldn't expect them to have to, no. Or at least they'd hope not to. But the degradation on these tyres has been a bit weird today. So we never know. Is Hamilton going to have DRS? Yes. Going down towards turn 4 again. Not quite enough. Just needs to be that tiny little margin closer, does Lewis Hamilton, when getting DRS. But it's very, very hard to obviously get through this middle sector behind Max Verstappen. Oh, and Lewis Hamilton is not happy about the fact that obviously that incident between the two is not being investigated. How many laps does the Grand Prix have? 71. It does indeed have 71, and we're on lap 54 of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately, Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll are out of this race. Charles Leclerc gains his position back on Carlos Sainz, though, as Carlos Sainz does indeed stop for what will be the final time in this race. Here we go then. Verstappen, again, just that little bit too far ahead of Hamilton. It makes you wonder if Hamilton is maybe, saving up a little bit or going for a little bit of a different strategy next time he goes for a move, or if Hamilton really just can't keep within the correct range of that Red Bull when it comes to this middle sector. Yeah, Max is doing a great job. As Mercedes now get on the radio to the FIA saying that, look, clearly Verstappen pushed him. And Verstappen, they're being told by the FIA, Verstappen didn't do anything wrong. They've had a look at it. They've looked from all possible angles. And he didn't do anything wrong, according to the FIA. They've obviously got the view of from Verstappen's and all the data from his car. So clearly they've made that decision with data behind it. But at the same time, if you're a Mercedes fan, you're probably not going to be overly happy about it. Max should have got a pen. It is. Let's see. I'd like to see it from Verstappen's point of view, because you just don't know how much steering lock he's got on. Clearly enough, because he's been holding that position and is in front. So clearly he's doing okay. Max dirty, says Nathaniel. Yeah, probably a little bit, to be fair. Probably a little bit, to be fair. Max Verstappen is going to get DRS from the McLaren, though, of Lando Norris. That's going to help him out on this lap, indeed. Although Lando Norris lets Hamilton pass as soon as he possibly can. Vettel actually pits, which means Norris has gained a position there. And I'm pretty sure Vettel is far enough ahead of Raikkonen to keep that 11th place position. So if you're Vettel, you're probably hoping that there's going to be something go on between these two. Because Bottas has dropped off Hamilton massively, 10 seconds behind the leading two. Perez is 3 and a bit seconds behind them. And then Charles Leclerc all the way 35 seconds behind those leading 4. Carlos Sainz just behind Charles Leclerc. It's sort of Alonso, Ocon, Gasly is a little bit interesting. And then that's about it in terms of battles that we've currently got going on. So it is all happening at the front of the grid. Verstappen and Hamilton, the two we've got all eyes on, not only for the World Drivers' Championship, but for the win today in Brazil. Going down towards turn 1 now. No DRS for Verstappen this time from a McLaren. But there is DRS from the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's decided that this lap might be the lap. Has a little look down into turn 1. Follows through turn 2 and 3. Has to keep it together, though, and will get another little bit of DRS down in towards turn 4. Here we go, then. Verstappen weaves across the track, and Hamilton goes around the outside and can't quite make it. Maybe he's going to go for the undercut inside. Not this time. Verstappen weaving all over the track, trying to do as much as he possibly can to cut down the slipstream from Lewis Hamilton. But Lewis Hamilton is now deciding, a few laps after his last maneuver, these laps are the time. Here we go then. Toto Wolff and Christian Horner on the edge of their seats, just like we are right now as well. Max Verstappen ekes out a little bit more of a lead through that middle sector, but Lewis Hamilton is indeed going to have DRS again down into turn 1. They come around the last couple of corners towards the pit straight, and Hamilton opens up that DRS. Is he going to be within is he going to be within striking distance this time towards turn 1? Not down towards turn 1. Again, has a little shimmy down into turn 1 to try and make Max Verstappen pick a side. Forces him to make a move. Then Hamilton again is going to have DRS down towards turn 4, much closer than he was last lap. Hamilton goes around the outside, makes it down in towards turn 4. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of this Grand Prix. And it is Lewis Hamilton taking the lead of this Grand Prix from Verstappen. And he is absolutely going to fly away from this Red Bull now, in my opinion. Because he has looked so quick. 9 places he's made up in this Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, a sitting duck by the time Hamilton threw that move around the outside. Let's watch it again. Lewis Hamilton goes to the right-hand side of the track. Max Verstappen tries to cover the inside, gets just enough slipstream. Hamilton goes around the outside, and by the 50-meter board is a good car's length ahead and gets well in front of Hamilton. Gets well in front of Verstappen by the time they get down into turn 4, and actually makes it look fairly easy. Hamilton ecstatic on the radio to the team, and Mercedes fans across the globe go wild. So now, can Hamilton also get the fastest lap of this race, get another point? Toto Wolff points at the camera in celebration. Here we go then. Hamilton in first place with the fastest lap as well. And now Verstappen in second. What can Verstappen do from this point? He's going to drop 7 points to the Mercedes, 8 if Hamilton can keep hold of this fastest lap. Bottas in third place. Quite a bit of a distance. Black and white flag for Verstappen weaving on the straight. So now, Valtteri Bottas, 11 seconds behind Verstappen. Ugh, you hate to see that if you're a Mercedes fan, because Sergio Perez also 15 seconds behind as well. So, and Esteban Ocon is going to lose a place to Gasly. Oh! And they almost collide. There's no love lost between those two. We know that they're not massive fans of one another. But Pierre Gasly makes his move down into turn 1. Esteban Ocon's going to have another little nibble down into turn 4, though. And Esteban Ocon is not going to be able to get in front of the AlphaTauri then. And Gasly is just going to shuffle in front of Ocon in terms of the standings this afternoon. Cool, that is some seriously close racing between those two. And Ocon just does have to sort of weave out of it after they come so close together. And Gasly with a great move there. Will want to get back behind the Ferraris, will Gasly, after a disappointing sprint and not been a very exciting race for him either. Valtteri Bottas being given the hurry up. Valtteri Bottas said, go and get him. Verstappen obviously is going to be quite considerably slower now in the dirty air of Lewis Hamilton. And Valtteri Bottas has maybe just been nursing his tyres a little bit, because Pierre Gasly is now having another little look at Alonso. And Alonso is going to be a much more difficult overtake, you'd imagine, for Pierre Gasly. Here we go then. Pierre Gasly, though, down into turn 4, does have the speed advantage and gets past Alonso. And Ocon has just dropped off the back of that AlphaTauri massively, to be honest with you. Norris is still in the points, just behind Ocon as well. Vettel in 11th, just hoping maybe for something to go wrong for the guys in front of them. Then we've got Raikkonen and Russell, Giovinazzi, Tsunoda, Latifi, Mazepin, and Mick Schumacher as our grid. And Verstappen has completely dropped off the back of the Mercedes car. But 10 laps left to go. Valtteri Bottas has been given the hurry up. Can Valtteri Bottas make it count and get in front of Max Verstappen as we watch that move again from Pierre Gasly? Very nice move from him. And Hamilton now getting through the back markers and actually lapping Alonso now at this point. Hamilton looking like he's going to lap pretty much everybody apart from the top 4 at this point, because he's going to be gaining on Pierre Gasly fairly swiftly too. And then Carlos Sainz is only 10 seconds or so up the road. So Hamilton getting much further ahead of Verstappen. And it's all job done for Hamilton, really. Just carry the car home and just shuffling some other drivers in the way of Verstappen if he does decide to mount a charge later on in the race. And it's going to go down to the wire, this championship, isn't it? You know, every time it looks like Verstappen's just going to win. Like Hamilton was 20th yesterday in Sprint qualifying, 20th, got all the way up to 5th, dropped down again to 10th, and is now leading this Grand Prix. Like, you just can't, I don't know how you can't say that this is a wonderful, wonderful performance from Lewis Hamilton. Easily driver of the day. And I know that that's easy to say when he's starting in the middle of the pack and he's got so many cars to overtake. But not only has he overtaked everybody in his way, he's overtaken his title rival on track as well. And now is looking so much quicker than him. Verstappen now 3.4 seconds off the back of the Mercedes. And now Bottas actually gaining on Verstappen. Verstappen not happy at the FIA either after being given that black and white flag. My goodness me, there is so much tension between these two teams. So much tension in the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships as well, as we're on board with Pierre Gasly, who's now defending a little bit from Alonso, although Alonso's going to have to let Verstappen past fairly soon. Can we get a side-by-side of Bottas and Verstappen's times? That would be nice. Max will win. Max still has a bigger point lead, so yeah. He is big picturing it, I guess, Verstappen, you know. But we'll lose a little bit of his lead. And 3 races left to go. It's definitely not over between those two. And it's definitely not over in the Constructors' Championship either. Here we go. Netherlands bottled the World Cup chat. Mike, making some tenuous links there. But I like it, Ibrahima. I like it. I like that. Not sure he's bottled it, though. He's still in the lead, technically. But Bottas is gaining on Verstappen, just 9 seconds behind. And it's going to be too much, though, isn't it? 9 seconds, just a bit too much. Bottas, obviously, given the hurry up by the Mercedes garage. Went for it a little bit, but has unfortunately dropped down just slightly too. Lewis Hamilton, 33% of the vote for driver of the day. Max Verstappen, 22%. Max Verstappen did defend very, very well. But, Lewis Hamilton, what can you say? Absolutely amazing stuff. Here we go then. I'm not saying Max Verstappen hasn't been exceptional, but I'm not saying that Max Verstappen hasn't been exceptional. Lewis Hamilton's just been a phenom out there in Brazil over the weekend. Just absolutely totaling every single lap that he can. Aston Martin totally is doing very good. Yeah, they just really aren't, are they? Vettel now outside the point. Stroll obviously out of this race. But Lewis Hamilton looking at his last Grand Prix. Obviously his last win was in Russia after that incident with Lando Norris and the rain. Hamilton's won. Yeah, pretty much, Nug. Pretty much. Still 4 laps left to go. Oh, 5 laps left to go, sorry. But Hamilton just flying away with it. There's going to have to be something go wrong for the Mercedes for it to not be a Hamilton win. Although there is a replay of something. Ooh, Hamilton. A little bit of a wiggle and a little bit of a lockup in the middle sector. So, just ran a little bit wide. Still pushing it. You know, it's not done and dusted. Still needs to obviously get the car home at the end of this Grand Prix. Sick and tired of Lewis and Mercedes winning all these years. Yeah, I know what you mean, but at the same time, they've just been so incredibly good. 4 laps left to go. And we're just looking. Valtteri Bottas, 0.6 seconds faster than Verstappen last lap. But again, not quick enough to really be making any kind of dent in Verstappen's lead over him. But here we go then. Hamilton in first place, Verstappen second, Bottas third, Perez fourth. Both of the Ferraris having a really good race in 5th and 6th. Pierre Gasly rounds out 7th place in the end. Alonso and Ocon in the Alpines, they'll be happy to pick up some points with the obviously the AlphaTauri of Gasly just in front. Lando Norris will round out the points after a puncture at the start of the race as well. So that's a pretty good fight back from Lando. Sebastian Vettel just outside the points in 11th place. Kimi Räikkönen in 12th after starting from the pit lane. George Russell 13th. Giovinazzi 14th. Yuki Tsunoda, after losing his front wing, is 15th. Latifi 16th. Mazepin at 17th. And Mick Schumacher also lost his front wing and is running last of the runners that are still going. Ricciardo and Stroll have dropped out of this race on lap 68. That is how it stands. And Max Verstappen, as we're on board with him, will go to 332.5 points. Obviously, Hamilton on 319.5. So still got a lead there, but it will narrow just slightly. Obviously, did pick up a couple of extra points yesterday because of the sprint. This will make my day if Lewis holds on to this lead. It looks like he's going to. He's looking very, very quick still. And Verstappen now 7.5 seconds off Lewis Hamilton. So Verstappen looks like it's going to be a fairly comfortable second place for him, but also a fairly comfortable win for Hamilton after just what was a really tense battle with him and Verstappen down into turn 1 and turn 2 again and again. Hamilton asking where Valtteri was, obviously hoping that he was going to say second, but Valtteri P3 and Hamilton with a little bit of a good job for Bottas, his teammate. Obviously, they want to win the Constructors' Championship as well. Both Mercedes in front of their sort of counterpart Red Bulls. Hamilton ahead of Verstappen, Bottas ahead of Perez will be very good for them going forward. Charles Leclerc in 5th place and Carlos Sainz in 6th. Obviously, Mercedes only picking up 1 point in 10th means Ferrari will eke out even more of a lead in the Constructors, and it's looking like 3rd place might be guaranteed to go to the red side of that battle. Hamilton starts lap 70 of this Grand Prix. I think then we can sit back and relax for a couple of laps, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think much more is going to happen as, who's that? Sergio Perez coming into the pits. Of course. Needs to obviously steal that fastest lap point from Lewis Hamilton. Is only going to get 1 shot at it. But they've done that because Valtteri Bottas had already gone past the pits So Sergio Perez going on to the soft compound tyre. And we will have to wait and see whether Sergio Perez can put together a fastest lap. Is Max going to get a penalty? No. They decided not to look into that. And I think, if anything, that just spurred Hamilton on more to get past Max Verstappen as quickly as he could. He was weaving on the track. That was why he might have picked up a penalty. But it was just a black and white flag in the end they gave him for a little bit of sort of dangerous driving, I guess you could argue that it is. But yeah, not worthy of them missing out and getting any kind of penalty, especially as Valtteri Bottas is now within 5 seconds. So imagine if Verstappen had have been given a 5-second penalty for that. That would have been tough. I don't think Red Bull get penalties, but they do get fines. Yeah, that's true. They do love a fine for Red Bull. Another little slap on the wrist for Max Verstappen. And maybe another 50k in the pocket of the FIA. Why not? Christmas party's got to be good at the FIA, so got to find some money somewhere. As Hamilton now coming around on the final lap of this Grand Prix in the middle sector, currently in that midfield. And looking very comfortable indeed. Now 10 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Just unfortunate that Valtteri Bottas hasn't really been able to mount a challenge for him. Obviously would have helped him in the Drivers' Championship massively, and also helped Mercedes in the Constructors. But Lewis Hamilton, with his Senna helmet, comes around the final couple of corners. He is going to take another victory in what has been a stunning season from the Mercedes driver. Will stand on the top of the podium again. Lewis Hamilton takes the victory here in Brazil. Pierre Gasly comes home in 7th. Just shows how many people Hamilton had overtaken. He was all the way up behind Carlos Sainz. Verstappen comes home 2nd. Bottas in 3rd. And it looks like Ocon has just jumped in front of Alonso there. Ocon has jumped in front of Alonso. So Ocon gets up into 8th place. Lando Norris going to come home with a point, and Vettel just missing out. Sergio Perez yet to come past the finish line, but will come home in 4th. There he is. And does get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So an extra point for Sergio Perez, with a 1:11 from him on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Makes you wonder whether they thought, maybe they could have put Bottas on some soft compound tyres. They surely would have expected that from Sergio Perez. But 1 point, we'll see if that makes a difference towards the end of the season. Hamilton comes home victorious and is very, very happy indeed. Is that 2 penalty points on his license? I mean, it depends how harsh they want to be with it, right? Like, Hamilton did get ahead in the end anyway. I know you could argue, like, if he'd have got ahead before, maybe Valtteri could have mounted a bit more of a challenge, but at the same time, he did get ahead eventually, and it was only a little bit of weaving, but weaving nonetheless. But Mercedes, my goodness me, Toto Wolff, absolutely ecstatic, picks up the Brazilian flag from the marshal, does Lewis Hamilton. He does just love it here in Brazil. Obviously, the site of when he won his first world championship as well. He does love Brazil. His Senna helmet, Brazil flag in hand, and is coming around to a standing ovation from the Brazilian crowd here. And going into Qatar is going to gain on Verstappen just that tiny bit more. 3 races left to go. And it just keeps getting closer between these guys after all the controversy, all the fines, all the penalties, all the new ICEs. It is Lewis Hamilton which takes the victory here this weekend. What did he say? 25 positions dropped. And still comes out on top. Verstappen just knows he wasn't quick enough on the day, unfortunately. Did well to actually keep in front of Bottas as well. Bottas in the Mercedes powers as well would have been so much quicker on the straight. So got to tip your hat to Verstappen there a little bit. Did really good in defensive work up until that sort of weaving controversy. And then also did really well to keep himself well ahead of Valtteri Bottas, even towards the end of the Grand Prix, where his tyres would have been dropping off a little bit. Lewis Hamilton, though, parks in front of the number one. Winner of the Grand Prix, winner of Driver of the Day as well. Stands on the Mercedes, jumps into the team, and absolutely deserves this Grand Prix victory, in my opinion. Like, he was fastest in quali, obviously got disqualified from it, but then absolutely flew through the sprint qualifying, and today made up 9 positions to take the win. You've just got to give it to Mercedes. They were by far and away the best team of the weekend. Like, I have no horse in this race. I don't really care who wins, Hamilton or Verstappen, but I do love that it's just so close between them. And it just could go either way, couldn't it? As Valtteri Bottas congratulates his teammate. Both of them in special helmets for this weekend too. Obviously Valtteri with his coffee helmet as well. Here we go then. Where's Lewis Hamilton going? Just standing on a wall. Goes over to the Brazilian fans with the Brazilian flag too. Gives it a little bit of a wave and takes the applause. And we see over the shoulder of Max Verstappen, who has to watch his title rival take the victory here in Brazil and just gain just that tiny little bit. Sergio Perez, though, did obviously gain as well. Obviously got that extra championship point for the fastest lap. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz coming home behind them for Ferrari. Looks like they're going to keep third place in the Constructors for the foreseeable future. And Gasly, pretty good in the end. Not a great showing from him yesterday in the sprint. Also not a great start to this race, but fought back and finished just behind the Ferraris. Ocon and Alonso swapped places at the end there. Ocon taking home some points in 8th place, and Alonso some points as well in 9th. And Norris with a single point for McLaren this weekend. Not great for us, is it? The boys at McLaren. Next year, those are year, right? Next year's our year. That's what we have to remember. Hopefully. Vettel comes home 11th. Raikkonen in 12th place. George Russell, pretty good actually, considering he was stuck behind Latifi for a considerable amount of time. Pitted very, very early indeed. But comes home behind Raikkonen and splits the Alfa Romeos with Giovinazzi just behind. Not looking great for Giovinazzi, is it? Like, his teammate started from the pit lane and still finished in front of him in the same car. Yeah, I'm not sure Giovinazzi's going to be in Formula 1 next year, but he's done everything he can. Just hasn't been quite good enough. Yuki Tsunoda, again, a little bit disappointing considering what the AlphaTauri can do under Pierre Gasly. Just couldn't make up those positions. Obviously, did have massive damage to the car, but it was his fault. So picked up a penalty for that. Latifi, Mazepin, Mick Schumacher round out the cars that finished the Grand Prix. Ricciardo and Stroll, unfortunately, not finishing. Stroll took quite a bit of damage to his left-hand side of his car, so ended up coming home. And then Ricciardo, also a little bit of a problem, ended up coming in and retiring from this race. And Valtteri Bottas just there having a little chat about this weekend. And obviously, he started on pole, did Valtteri, but ended up losing 2 positions straight away, basically. Within the first 4 corners, he was behind both of the Red Bulls. He won't be happy with himself for that. But ended up coming home in 3rd. Another podium position for Valtteri. Another trophy to take home before he moves on to Alfa Romeo and is replaced by George Russell. And I'm sure there'll be people arguing that, you know, if George Russell was in the car now, maybe he'd have caught Max Verstappen. I'm looking forward to seeing those arguments on Twitter. But what a weekend it has been for motorsport. What a weekend it's been for Formula 1. We've seen everything. We've seen Mercedes go incredibly quickly. We've seen disqualifications. We've seen controversy in the pit lane. Did Max Verstappen break his wing? No. But, like, could have. But no. But couldn't. Really, had he? We've seen fines handed out. We've seen Valtteri Bottas take sprint qualifying wins and poles. We've seen Ferraris on podiums. It's been absolutely sensational. And it's that man again that just comes out on top all the time, it seems. Hamilton takes another victory. I'm going to leave it there for you guys, though. Loads of videos coming out this week. Obviously, we'll be back again for Qatar next weekend and my birthday as well. If you haven't entered the £100 giveaway, just get involved right now. Subscribe on YouTube. Give this video a like while you're there. Subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Instagram. They all count as an entry to the £100 giveaway. And it's £100 of Formula One merch of your choice from the Formula One shop. So have a little shop around, see what you like. If there's something on there, make sure you enter. It's £100 of Formula One merch coming someone's way next weekend for my birthday for Qatar. And Max Verstappen leads this championship. Lewis Hamilton just behind. And I'll see you in a week's time.